government continues to focus on a strong economy, I thought it was time to review what the Liberal leader would do if he were in charge.
What's that?
Well, Mr. Speaker, here's his top 5 expenditures. Number 5, spend $1 billion on Project Green, a program that would do nothing for national objectives, but it would cost a fortune.
Shame.
Number 4, spend $5 billion on a wasteful daycare program, not on childcare spaces, but on bloated bureaucracy and interest groups. Number 3, spend $5 billion on implementing the Kyoto Accord. That's how much it would cost today, Mr. Speaker, because they didn't get it done 13 years ago.
Shame on them.
Number 2, Mr. Speaker, increase the GST from 5 to 7%. Over $12 billion in new taxes, Mr. Speaker.
Shame
and number
on them.
1, a new gas tax. Billions of new taxes at the pumps.
Oh, no.
So each and every one of us will have to pay 60% more than we're paying now.
And what's next?
These billions equal one thing, Mr. Speaker, a Liberal deficit. One person wants to bring this country and our economy to its knees. And you know who that is? The person who's about to stand up, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Oral questions. Questions orales.
Oral questions.
Leader of the opposition.
$300 in, $3,300 out. In, out, legal. If it's illegal for them, Mr. Speaker, it is legal for us.
One voice that counts, and that's his. To the Prime Minister, why is your voice the only one that matters?
Oddly, the Prime Minister is not answering this question. Someone else is. Because his is not the only voice that matters, but the voice that matters most to the Prime Minister is the voice of Canadians. The voice of Canadians who told us they had enough of unaccountable Liberals in office lining their pockets and their party pockets at the expense of taxpayers. They had enough of that. They had enough of a party that spent all its time figuring out new clever ways to raise taxes and increase spending on behalf of their vested interests. They wanted someone standing up for them, cutting taxes for them, not someone who ran around the country as their leader did 2 weeks ago, talking about how raising gas taxes was going to help ordinary Canadians.
One voice, only his. But silencing all the voices around him means there are no other voices to say, this is wrong. This is trying to buy a vote to bring down a government. This is unleveling a playing field that must be level. This is when you...
Mr. Speaker, the reason Conservative voices count for more in this government than any other is because the Liberal leader there has silenced the voices of the Liberal Party. In this session of Parliament, over a quarter of the time, he's told his members of Parliament they can't stand up and vote on behalf of their constituents. That's called silencing the voices of your members. Conservatives come here, they speak their voice, they speak on behalf of their constituents, and they vote. They vote again and again for lower taxes, action on crime. They're voting for real Canadians.
Why would we reinstate a program that blocks access to information, that centralizes control? For the first time, over the objections of the Liberals, for the first time, Canadians can see how their taxes are being used and spent by the CBC, by the Wheat Board, and by Canada Post. The Liberals were never willing to relinquish that central control. We are.
Provincial governments on policies. But especially at a time of hemorrhaging manufacturing jobs, it is unacceptable and unprecedented for Canada's finance minister to tell the world that Ontario is the last place to invest.
Mr. Speaker, last week the member from Markham Unionville, disregarding the facts, attacked me and my wife and our children. His remarks were defamatory, and we are awaiting his apology.
And on the matter of that school, my questions are very simple. Is there now, or was there ever in the past, any ownership by the minister or anyone in his family?
The Minister of Finance has been a long-time supporter of helping developing disabled people in this country. He has been someone who has done more to help the disadvantaged with developmental disabilities than the Liberal government has ever done. And for the lies and smears that we hear from that side of the House, it's simply unacceptable. This member should apologize and do the right thing and do it immediately, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker,
Canadians are horrified by the gruesome deaths of 500 ducks at Syncrude Tailing Pond, and this type of ecological disaster will only become more and more often as Alberta's oil.
We take this issue tremendously seriously. Officials from Environment Canada and the Canadian Wildlife Service were on the scene to provide support. There's currently an investigation going forward to investigate any illegal offences which may have occurred. Thanks to this government, we've brought in more financial resources to support environmental enforcement, something that was lacking, Mr. Speaker. Maybe while I'm on my feet, I could ask the member opposite, does she not agree that it's unacceptable to dump raw sewage into the Pacific Ocean like she did when she was Minister of the Environment in British Columbia?